is Sincerity. There was the title of our short story that tell about Dion and Rani. Dion and Rani were childhood friends. The two of them spent a lot of time playing together. But it turns out that the saying is true. There is no pure friendship between a man and a woman unless there is a feeling of love, even though it is a one-sided love. Indeed, only Dion feels that love, but they both continue to live everything they used to do as it was. Over time, they entered a high school and it turned out that Dion and Rani became classmates. Until one day, Rani finds a man named Vian who is able to make her fall in love every day. Rani spends more time with Vian, ignoring Dion, who is starting to get hurt because of her best friend, even when his love is taken away. After 5 months, Vian and Rani become very close even though their relationship had no status, and an unwanted incident occurred. Vian is swept in two loves. He loves Rani, his current close friend, and Anissa, his first love, who come back. This time, Vian isn't a fair dilemma. He loves Rani but can't forget Anissa. Until finally, after a few weeks, Vian thought he had made his choice to Anissa. Rani is very sad when she learns about Vian's decisions. She felt very disappointed. She also ran to hug Dion, who is considered a friend. Rani cried loudly in the arms of her male best friend. Dion accepts the tears that Rani pours for him, without thinking about his heart. Seeing the person he loves so much throws away her tears for another man. After Rani's condition began to improve, they don't know what it was that made Rani never want to be away from Dion. They also spend a lot of time together like people who are dating until one day, Vian comes to express his love for Rani, who at that time has started to love Dion. In the afternoon, after school, Rani drives her cycle to go home. But on the way, Rani is back in the dilemma phase until a car at high speed crashed into her cycle and made her both covered in blood and lost consciousness. Rani was rushed to the hospital with a critical condition, plus her left kidney was declared damaged by the doctor. Dion and Vian felt very sad and felt in a state of frustration. However, Dion went to the doctor to beg to give Rani the kidney he had. 2 months later, Rani was declared fully recovered. She started to be able to carry out activities as usual, but she really had his recovery when she learned the story of his parents about Dion, who was willing to sacrifice for her. Rani cries while hugging the tombstone with Dion's name on it. He kissed the gravestone many times while saying, "I'm the luckiest girl to have friends and even life partners who are willing to sacrifice happiness and even body and soul for a woman like me who only remembers you when I'm in the love." Now, Dion can only smile, smiling happily there, seeing his little love, Rani, who is very kind, grow up and knows all the love he has hidden since he was a child.
Setting, place. On the road, according to the quotes, all the way after school, he kept daydreaming until a car at high speed hit him. In the hospital, according to the quotes, Rani was rushed to the hospital in a critical condition, plus her left kidney was declared damaged by the doctor. At the public cemetery, according to the quotes, his parents took him to a public cemetery. Time midday. According to the quotes, at noon, after school, Rani drove her vessel to go home. Atmosphere, disappointment. According to the quote, he felt a very deep disappointment. He also ran to hug Dion, who he considered his best friend. Sad. According to the quote, Rani was rushed to the hospital in a critical condition, plus his left kidney was declared damaged by the doctor. Dion and Vian are sad and in a state of frustration. Characterization. Dion with character caring, compassionate, and self-sacrificing. This character can be seen in the short story expressed as follows. Rani, who at the time began to sing until she fell ill, was still accompanied by Dion, the man who always held Rani's hand tightly, giving her tender caresses and attention. These quotes describe Dion's loving and caring attitude. But Dion went to the doctor to beg to give Rani the kidney he had. Even though the doctor had refused Dion, which because Dion had an abnormal kidney. His right kidney was not functioning properly since he was young. But sincere love made Dion insist on continuing to donate his kidney. This quote describes the attitude of Dion, who is willing to sacrifice for the people who loves. Rani with character kind. The character is described in the short story expressed as follows. Now Dion can only smile, smiling happily there seeing his little love. Rani, who is very can grow up and knows all the love he has hidden since he was a child. Vian character, loyal. This character can be seen in the short story expressed as follows. Why would I love another woman if my old love I still can't forget?
Plot of the story is introduction. The introduction part, of course, begins with an introduction to the outline of the story in the first paragraph. The form of this introduction is in the form of an explanation to lead the reader to the initial situation of the drama, to reveal relevant materials or provide information to the audience about the conflict in it, where in this short story two people are introduced. Friends since childhood, namely Dion and Rani, who have grown up. Unexpectedly, Dion has feelings for Rani even though it's one side. Rising action is a situation where the conflict has started to appear but has not yet climaxed. In this story, the rising action part is filled with the departure of Vian, who is Rani's lover, who prefers her love in the past so that it makes Rani sad and feels a very deep disappointment. So she falls ill, and during that time she is accompanied by Dion. Climax is the event where the conflict reaches climax. In this story, it is told that Rani is approached by Vian again, so she is confused about whether to choose Vian or Dion. The climax is when Rani's dilemma causes her to have a serious accident that causes her to suffer kidney damage, so she has to accept a donor, which she didn't know and thought is given by Dion, who actually also has an abnormal kidney. Falling action is a situation where the conflict that had reached the climax gradually has began to subside of the intensity of the conflict in a story gradually recovers. After 2 months of Rani experiencing a period of recovery, she was finally declared fully recovered. She also knew all the sacrifices and all the love that Dion had given her and tried to be strong when visiting Dion's funeral. At the ending, the reader is given a description of Dion's reaction with everything that has happened. He is happy up there watching Rani grow bigger and knowing all the love he has hidden since he was little. Next, conflict. In the short story, the conflict that occurs is an inner conflict. Where is this conflict experienced by Rani, who asks herself who should choose Dion or Vian? This is in the snip. Rani is back in the dilemma phase, where she keeps asking herself what should choose Dion or Vian.
Explain about the point of view of the story. This story uses the third person point of view because the third story text uses the word he or she point of view, which is characteristic of the third person point of view, and also uses the names of characters such as Rani, Dion, and Vian. The theme of the story is sincere sacrifice for a loved one. This is shown by the actions of Dion, who was willing to sacrifice himself for Rani. How about the imagery of this story? The imagery of this story we can see in the sentence, the man who always holds Rani's hand tightly. We can imagine how tight Dion holds Rani's hand. And next, symbolism. The symbolism of this story we can see in the sentence, but it turns out that the saying is true, there is no pure friendship between a man and a woman unless there is a feeling of love, even though it is a one-sided love. The phrase one-sided love symbolizes a feeling that comes from only one person and the other person does not have the feeling. Next to the figurative language, we can see the figurative language in the sentence. They also spend a lot of time together, like people who are dating until one day Fion comes to express his love for Rani, who at the time had started to love Dion. There is a figurative word which is like. Okay, next to the tone. Based on the story, the author's tone is melancholic. Why melancholic? Because we could find a plot which is very sad in this story. And the last is the irony of this story. The irony of this story, that is, a reader maybe we think Dion and Rani will be together, but at the end we cannot expect that, because at the end of the story it's not like that. Rani is with Fian, not Rani with Dion.